Welcome back to Occasional Randomness. I'm your host, Eric Scott, and joining me, as always, is my fellow co host, somebody who probably would not stick his hands in a giant pile of Luxon vomit, Jason Johnson.
So let's not bring that or anything else back up. I think we've had enough of the up.
Yeah, the first couple minutes of this episode were a little um, interesting.
It was definitely a moving experience.
Stomach curdling, blood curdling, a wretched experience.
They cleared the room,
Retching experience. More on that here shortly.
and everybody just left.
Yeah. Good night, everybody. So tonight we continue through the final season of Farscape with Season 4, Episode 4, Lava's a Many Splendored Thing. And after that, we will talk about the first half of the latest Star Wars live-action show, The Acolyte, and that will be Episodes 1 through 4. And as always, if you like what we do here, please give us a like or review wherever you listen to this at, or better yet, help spread the word and let people know about us. We would appreciate it. All right, so I think it's an even episode. So you're up here in our 25th episode extravaganza because we're episode 25 here.
Oh yeah, quarter century mark. Check that out.
Not that we have anything majorly planned other than just covering two different shows, but hey,
Hey, there's Star Wars. That should make it epic in
yeah.
of itself.
Well, I
So
say have live action Star Wars to get us over the lack of animated Star Wars now that Bad Batch has ended.
yeah, way to bring us right back down.
Yeah,
All right.
although after you listen to our review of Acolyte, maybe who knows? So,
It could get interesting.
yeah, stay tuned, you'll find out.
All right. Well, in that case, we better go ahead and jump into some Farscape. So, as mentioned, it's Farscape Season 4, Episode 4, Lava's a Many Splendored Thing. We open up with Dargo still towing Crichton's module, and there's still no sign of Moya. Rigel wants to land on the planet close by because he's starving, but the planet is hot and lifeless. Channa comments that right now she could eat a rock. Sikozu is surprised as Channa ate only 3 days ago, asking how inefficient her body is. How edible is yours? Channa bites back. Rigel moans that he needs food. Noranti spits out something, Jilnak she calls it, and hands it out first to Rigel and then the others, except Sikozu, who offers her portion to Rigel. Noranti claims it is restorative. John wonders how come everything tastes like chicken, to which Channa responds, "What's chicken?" Cut to Dargo's ship, Lola, standing on the lava-filled planet. Rigel comes out of the ship on his throne sled, only to fly off to throw up. John follows.
And here we go.
Yeah, and here we go. It's all come up to me. Back to me. Well, all right. John follows, then Dargo, and then both join Channa in the mass regurgitation. Noranti offers John something to help the cramp, which he declines. Dargo's response is, "I'm inside out," to which Noranti points out, "You're not hungry anymore, though." So I guess it worked.
Yeah, I guess true. Good point.
Rigel's gone down a nearby hole for a schlock. Fill in the gap there. And John, Dargo, and Noranti follow him. At the bottom, Rigel has found some treasure that he clearly wants to swipe.
Don't do it.
You know where that's leading.
Yeah, right.
That stuff belongs to somebody else, John warns, and Dargo throws it away, adding, "We have enough enemies already." Something seems to happen when what Dargo threw hits the floor, though. Noranti finds some medicines and thinks she recognizes some of the markings on the container. Dargo wants to leave, but Rigel sets off a booby trap, and a column of amber substance solidifies around his body, seals the entrance to the hole with Chiana and Sikozo outside. The whole place is booby trapped, and Dargo can't shoot the hole open. They're stuck.
Nice job, Rigel.
Good. Nobody saw that one coming. Rigel's moaning for the others to get him out, while Noranti continues to ramble about the markings. Dargo, "We may have to stick Granny in a hole," comments John. "I think we should burn her," Dargo replies. They hear people coming, who kill the traps as Noranti recognizes the marks as Tarkan. John ushers her to go and hide with him and Dargo while Rigel plays dead. The two men who approach converse as John and Dargo discuss taking them out. Noranti says there should be no violence, while the men realize the traps have been sent off and notice Rigel. Rigel apologizes for disturbing their work, but they realize he's a thief too. He tells them there's no one with him, and the men calm someone else, who tell them not to touch Rigel as he's on his way. Noranti tells John and Dargo that these are Tarkans, good people, and despite John's objections, she introduces herself to the men. Rigel claims that he's never seen her before, but she says they're not alone. There's a human and a Luxon too, urging John and Dargo to come out. John comments burning may be too good for her. John steps out and tries to move along, thanking the men for looking after Noranti and telling her to stop wandering off. He implies to them that she's a bit crazy.
Yeah.
I think he has to apply that one. And asks if they see his dog. Right, I guess Rigel. Rigel tells John to get him out, and John has an idea. Why don't we all put our guns down? But the other two men arrive and start shooting. Chiena and Sikozo are watching from the sealed hole, trying to make out what's going on down there. The shootout continues, but the men have body shields, so Dargo, John, and Noranti are forced to run. One of the men cuts Rigel from the floor, but leaves his body encased and carries him off, dropping him down a chute. Chiana thinks that the lights she saw were pulse blasts and tells Sikozo that they need to help them. Sikozo says they have to get to them first. Well, you're a genius. How? Sikozo mentions the cannon on Dargo's ship, but only Dargo can operate it. But Chiana wonders if there might be another way in. Meanwhile, Rigel reaches the bottom of the chute and witnesses a huge person in body armor come out from a pool of lava. Meanwhile, John, Dargo, and Noranti are running from the men. Noranti tells them that these are Tarkan freedom fighters, heroes. There's no need to fight them. John points out that they're shooting at them, and Dargo notes that they fired first. Noranti wants to mediate, but John says she'll just get shot. Dargo asks if that would be too bad. Rigel asks the armored person, Ray Kale, if they can discuss this. Ray Kale is not happy when told that there are more intruders here. He asks Rigel how they found this place, but a nervous Rigel says no one told them. They found it by accident. When pressed, he claims he was just putting back the chain that he was going to steal. One of the men calms Ray Kale to say that he has intruders cornered, but he needs help. Ray Keel says that he'll take care of it while the other person keeps moving the crates. He asks the man on the comm to describe the location, but the man responds that all just looks like rock. Noranti tells John and Dargo that she trusts the Tarkans, but John and Dargo don't. Dargo tells John that it might be an idea to let Noranti meditate, and when John finally agrees, she then yawns and drops to the floor, deep asleep. Ray Keel asks the men if there's any writings on the wall, and they respond that there's some purple markings, which Ray Keel tells the man to shoot. When he does, it causes a huge explosions and rumble. Dargo says trouble as the lava begins to flow in where they are, and remarks, same Dren, different planet. Yep, we're trapped again. Dargo wants John to jump, but John says that he can, but the old bat can't. Old bats can fly, says Dargo as he throws Noranti to the other side of the lava. Dargo propels John across, but when he jumps, he nearly falls backwards, so he wraps his tongue around Noranti's neck to pull himself up. It's probably a good thing she was asleep for that one.
Yeah, because her face wasn't looking too well unconscious, so I can only imagine what would happen if she was awake for that.
It's an experience I could probably go without. So Chiana couldn't find another entrance, while Sikozo has been trying to power up the ship's cannon. Chiana repeats that only Dargo can operate it, but Sikozo says that he'd be a fool not to set an override. But Chiana gets an idea. They just need Dargo's DNA. See previous comments. Ray Keel tells the leader of the men that his people are worthless. Rigel calms Dargo to say that he's dying and begs him to get him out of there. John asks where he is, but Ray Keel grabs Rigel and says, "Who is this?" Lou Costello is John's reply. He says that he is Ray Keel, and Noranti introduces herself and says they are not enemies, it's a misunderstanding. They know they're Tarkan freedom fighters. Ray Keel says that even though they approve of their work, Rigel attempted to rob them. John apologizes and says they'll punish the slug appropriately. Ray Keel says that they'll release Rigel, but knocks him out and tells John that Rigel doesn't look well. They'd better come and get him. Ray Keel says that they'll send an escort, and neither John and Dargo trust him, despite Noranti's objections. John wants to ambush the escort, hit him with a rock, and take his shield belt. That's your plan, Dargo asks. Yeah. To hit him with a rock when they have these shields? Apparently the shields only work against pulse energy. They saw the man get burned, so John is sure a rock will work. Noranti announces that she wants to help.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Now she wants to help. Yeah.
But do they want her help? Is always the question. Chiana and Sikozo check out all the piles of vomit and find Dargo's, of which Chiana takes both a bite and a handful.
And again, disgusting.
Yeah, there's some interesting conversation there, I bet. On the ship, Sikozo wants to try to control it, but Chiana objects, as she's the one who put her hands in the vomit. Sikozo observed the starting procedure for the ship when they left Arnisk. So they start it, but Sikozo's never seen Dargo use the cannon. Noranti blows powder all over the chamber where Dargo and John hide, As the men come in to find them, Noranti turns, saying, "Hey, fellas," and starts to dance. But the men don't see Noranti, presumably due to the powder. Instead, they see a young lady wearing a skimpy outfit with blue hair. The men drool over her as she strips, and John and Dargo sneak up behind them and knock them out with rocks. Noranti continues to dance anyway, finishing with a strip, much to the horror of Dargo and John.
And thankfully, we didn't see any of that technically, so the audience was spared
Yeah,
that as well.
the benefit of old sci-fi era editing, right? We couldn't put that kind of stuff on. Sikozu's got her own vomit, which meaning she's got some of Dargo's. So she has a go at working the ship. She gets it moving and lines it up with the hole, but when she fires the cannon, nothing happens. John has put on one of the men's body shields and is told that it works automatically when fired at. Dargo wants to test it on one of John's appendages, but then shoots anyway, and it works. Noranti asks if they can go to talk to the Tarkans now, but John points out there is no we because they have 2 belts and 3 people. Leaving Noranti behind, John and Dargo let the men lead the way. John arrives at Ray Keel's chamber with the men, trying to use them as hostages. Ray Keel shoots them instead and activates the booby traps around Dargo and John. He adds that they aren't freedom fighters at all, they're just robbing them. John points out that they don't care, and Dargo adds that they performed quite a few burglaries themselves. Ray Keel asks who else is with them, but Dargo refuses to say, prompting Ray Keel to throw lava on them when they don't cooperate. Channa and Sikozu argue, and when Channa tells her to try anything to fire, the cannon fires, opening the hole. Below, they feel the rumble, and Dargo realizes it's Lola's cannon, so it must be the girls. John tells Ray Keel that that's their squad, and Dargo explains, we die, you die. Ray Keel goes to throw lava on them, but the leader of the men stops him, saying if it's true, they'll need hostages. Ray Keel asks why now, when he's been planning this for so long. John has no sympathy. Life sucks, doesn't it? Well, quite often, in fact, Dargo adds. Ray Keel leaves to search for the ship. Meanwhile, Channa leaves to check down the hole and suggests that Sikozu turn the ship invisible. Ray Keel and one of the men argue, with Channa nearly running into them. Dargo and John try to convince the person guarding them to betray Ray Keel, but he doesn't listen. Rigel forces himself off an edge to drop to the floor, and the distraction allows John to shoot the person. But Rigel gets knocked into the trap and becomes completely encased again. Just as Ray Keel and the man get to the surface, Sikozu turns the ship invisible. The weapon they use to melt the amber substance runs out, so Dargo leaves to get a new canister from the level above. The man suddenly gets up and goes to hit John with Rigel, but John fights back and he and Rigel, the man, fall into the lava pool. John wants to try activating the shield so he can go into the pool to rescue Rigel, but Harvey, yay Harvey, tries to talk him out of it. John shoots his finger to activate the shield to give it a try, and the shield protects him from the lava while it's activated. Ray Keel and the man find nothing wrong with their transport, so they decide it must have been a bluff, and Ray Keel returns to dispose of the hostages. Channa is still roaming when Noranti grabs her and says that they have to hide. These are not real Tarkans, but highly evil men. Welcome to the party. She tells Channa that they have to get a message to the real Tarkans.
File under D for duh.
Yeah, right. Dargo and the man get into a fight when they meet in the corridor. John finds Rigel in the lava, but Ray Keel pops up behind him, and in the meantime, Dargo decapitates the man, and his head rolls down the chute, landing in front of John. Ray Keel knocks John's pulse pistol away, and John's shield switches to reserve mode. Channa walks in, and John yells to shoot him. John's shield is reactivated, and he manages to overpower Ray Keel and get him encased. With Ray Keel out of the way, John finds Rigel in the lava. John frees Rigel from the amber substance when Tarkans approach. As the crew prepare to fight, Noranti tells them that these are the real Tarkans, and she told them everything. They believed you, John asks. A Tarkan explains that Ray Keel was once one of them, but now he's a traitor and a thief, and tells them they're free to go as long as they take Rigel with them. John thanks the Tarkan for the shield belt, as the Tarkan thanks Noranti for the Jill neck, prompting John and Dargo to drag her away. Rigel says that he'll never eat again, as Dargo, John, and Noranti arrive at the ship. Dargo asks what that mess and smell are. This is all you. Well, from you, Sikozu replies. When they lift off, the ship informs him that it's received a transmission. It's from Pilot, transmitting Moya's location and saying they look forward to the crew's return. Little bit of trivia on this episode. The belly dancer's design was inspired by the iconic Grey Aliens. Dave Elsley felt that it was time they made an appearance. John Adam, who played Ray Keel, had previously played Burkesh way back in Season 1, Episode 4, Thrown for a Loss, and later, Season 2, Episodes 20 and 21, the Liars, Guns, and Money two-parter. Like that character, he was nearly blind in this costume. Character designer Tim Ferrier and his team built all of the sets for this episode complete with lava, flowing lava. He described this one as one of the toughest episodes for him and his department. For the sequence in which Rigel was encased in amber, the Jim Henson Creature Shop created an amber liquid which would look realistic on film but was easier to use than actual amber. Also, this episode reveals Sikozu's ability to go long periods of time without food. It also reveals that Chiana is apparently able to somehow identify Dargo's vomit by taste.
And the less said about that, once again, the better.
Yeah, I think maybe we won't bring that one back up later. Sikozu breaks the Farscape tradition by uttering damn and damn it as curses, rather than uttering one of the substitute words usually given to alien characters, like Frel, Dren, or Yachts. This isn't necessarily a continuity breach, as it calls back to Crichton Kicks, in which Sikozu learned English from Crichton. In all likelihood, the character is actually speaking to herself in English in this scene, if someone were to hear her without translator microbes. So that was a lava episode to unpack. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, so did I lava it or did I just like it? So I guess, well, first and foremost, obviously we were wrong with our guesses from last time, as we do not meet up with Aeryn in this episode, or Moya, or Pilot, or anybody else we're missing. So gotta be the next one, hopefully. Given how this one ends as a definite cliffhanger that they're gonna go find them. So we'll find out. Anyway, or not, we'll find out. Yeah, I guess overall it was a fun episode. It has all their typical Farscape elements we've come to love over the last 3 and a quarter seasons. You got your comedy, drama, Rigel, of course, trying to snurch other people's things and getting in trouble for it, and your typical villain leader surrounded by totally useless and completely stupid henchmen. So, pretty good. Although, I guess as we talked about briefly at the opening, at this point, why does anybody want to take anything that Noranti offers them? I mean, the others, okay, sure, because it might be the first time or two. But at this point, given what's happened over the last couple episodes with Crichton and her, you think he would have learned by now. But apparently not. So I guess in general, yeah, I liked it. It was a nice little, I don't want to say filler episode, but it was good. What do you think?
Yeah, filler episode's probably the wrong word, but like I thought this was a good weekly episode. I don't think we got an overall large amount of story movement. Right, we didn't get the crew's not in a vastly different position than they were before, other than the very end when obviously we get the message from Pilot, which we'll get to. But I did enjoy it. Like you said, it was a good mix of all the different Farscape elements, and in I guess episode parlance, I put this one in the category of kind of monster of the week, right? This is just kind of adventure of the week. It's just a good standalone, fun romp through a bit of storyline. So I enjoyed it. I like you said though, I was surprised by the continued absence of Aeryn for one of the main characters to have been gone for 4 episodes now. It's, I think, pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't look ahead to the trivia for next time, but I wonder if was she off filming something, or when did Pitch Black come out? That was after Farscape?
Oh gosh, was she in Pitch Black?
Yeah, she was one of the survivors on the planet with Vin Diesel for like most, maybe at least half the movie, I think.
That came out in 2000.
Okay, maybe she was filming that. Well, I guess we'll find out. Maybe we'll find out next time.
I'll have to rewatch that. I forgot that she was in that. I knew it had Cole Hauser in it, but I didn't realize it had
Hmm.
her in
Yeah, I was like, hey, Farscape.
it. Sharon Shaza Montgomery was her character name. All right, cool.
Yeah,
I'll flag that for later.
I'll have to go watch that again. Anywho, back to Farscape. So, yeah, speaking of eating or not, I guess they had enough of that. But we open with everybody starving as they've been stuck on Dargo's ship for days, and I guess there's not a lot of rations on the ship there. And Noranti, of course, gives them something that no one asks where it came from first. Number one, it's like, where were you hiding this for the last couple of days? No one cares. It's like, oh, food, wonderful.
Yeah, we've got the benefit of seeing where she gets it, and that makes it even worse.
Yeah. And so, of course, that causes what were, them blowing major chunks on the planet there. and I'm guessing Rigel's other issues, which he goes off to take care of. And of course, that always leads to what usually happens when Rigel comes across shiny objects not currently in anybody's possession. You would think by now he'd kind of learn, but then again, it is
Rigel.
Rigel, and you know,
Yeah. The only part of that I take issue with is that currently in anybody's possession, because I don't know that them being in your possession actually matters. But
yeah, just because you're not currently holding on to it does not mean that you're not stealing it.
right. But yeah, as you mentioned earlier, by this point, most of the crew are familiar with the, we'll say, intricacies of Noranti. So were they that starved that they would actually take something from her and not take the time to question it? That just seems. Whew.
Yeah, and just the fact, like we said, like yeah, it's a small little pod ship thing here. It's like, hey, where you got this wonderful food from? Like, but I guess if you're that hungry, don't really care.
I mean, I can see Rigel taking her up on it, but the rest of the crew,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I guess in keeping with tradition of at least one crew member blowing the plan to pieces here, this time it's Noranti's turn because she's new, and she insists that I know who these are. These are friendly Tarkans. They're freedom fighters. So I'm just gonna go out there and introduce myself. And hey, by the way, here's all my friends are behind me here. And nope, got it wrong there. They're not exactly what you think, and they start shooting. And our intrepid heroes fire back, but they got these nice little shield belts, which is kind of cool. And they got to run away.
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier that this was not one of the episodes that I felt had a larger like story effects. It was kind of just a story of the week, but that may not be true if this interaction of shielding technology kind of plays out, right? I mean, to my knowledge, we haven't had any kind of shielding referenced in Farscape, and all of a sudden now we've got a technology that repels blasters, and maybe we can outfit Moya or Dargo's ship or who knows what, and actually kind of have shields.
Yeah, I guess not until it was like way back in season one, like the first it was like episode like 4, 5, or 6, somewhere around there, where they find. I'm thinking where they found that one ship that had some like partial shielding tech on it that they tried to use a couple of times before it blew up, and that was it. But yeah, apart from that,
Was that back when they had the science officer lady?
yeah, like PK Tech Girl.
Yeah,
That
PK
was the
Tech Girl.
episode. Yeah, right.
Man, I can remember things
All
occasionally.
right. Hey. But yeah, it's been like 3+ years since that. So
And these are portable, right? I mean, obviously they've got decent power to shielding ratio if it's just a little belt.
yeah, so be curious since John got one at the end there, at least one. Are we gonna ever see it again? I guess we'll find out. And I guess keeping with the Noranti theme here, yeah, so okay, she finally manages to convince John and Dargo. Okay, fine, they're friendly, but she can talk to them, no problem. I got it covered. Okay, great, go do it. And she just kind of gets a sudden case of narcolepsy, falls down, and goes to sleep. So I don't know. Does she have narcolepsy? Like, not exactly the most perfect time just to suddenly take a nap. Much to John and Dargo's annoyance there. Kind of funny of them trying to wake her up, like kicking her. So like, okay, well, there's her Farscape comedy.
Yeah, when she takes a nap, she takes a nap. I mean,
I mean, she is out. Yeah. And then the one henchman shoots the glowing symbols on the wall because you just do what your boss tells you. And of course, yeah, so much for him, which causes the lava, I guess, to start flowing in. And then Dargo just picks up the and he just throws it like a rag doll across the thing, just flops on the other side of the whatever lava pit, whatever you want to call it, and then helps John jump to safety, and then he vaults over and he starts falling back, and he just lashes out with his tongue, grabs Noranti around the neck, and like her eyes bug out, and she has this like look on her face, even though she's still unconscious. But that was pretty funny. That was a totally Farscape scene.
yeah, absolutely. Again, she maybe grow on me eventually, but I kind of feel like their goal with Noranti is just to make her as weird and annoying as possible, right? Each time they try to like introduce you to a little bit of her backstory, or you think you understand what she's doing, she does something like she just gets weirder. So it's a
Yeah,
very
and they don't explain anything. Not that they have to, but it's like, why'd she just fall asleep? Why does she make all this weird crap that no one questions, right?
yeah, and that's what I mean. I guess it's like each episode they just make it a point to make her a little bit weirder or a little more citrusy. The more you find out, the more you're like, what is going on? Like, why do we still have this person with us? Because she's almost too weird to be around. But yeah, that seems to be one of the things they're throwing in this season. So
Yeah, but she actually is useful At least partially in this case, where the next scene when she does wake up again, she makes the henchmen think that she's some sexy exotic dancer to distract them, so that John and Dargo can sneak up on them and knock them out with rocks because apparently John's figured out that well, the guy got blown up and incinerated, so maybe the shields only work against energy, not or like pulse pistol energy, not kinetic energy of like explosions and rocks. So okay, let's give that a shot. And we do, as we commented before, get that little funny scene where, to me, I think it went on just a little tad too long. But the reaction of John and Dargo when she finished the dance and was like, totally to them buck naked, stand there and they're like, oh my god, blah, and then try and look away, like, yeah, it's great, okay, good, thanks.
Yeah, again, I agree. Even when she's helping, it drug a little bit, and maybe was a bit too revealing of a scene. So I was ready to move on by the end of it. But yeah, it did kind of start out funny and makes you wonder, how much of it's like magic. I'm putting magic in air quotes here. Powers. How much of it is this dust that she manages to like hit everybody with and whammy them into seeing what she wants them to see? I don't know. It's kind of an interesting character abilities that again are completely unexplained.
Yeah, she's like this, the sci-fi alchemist kind of, like Zan on steroids kind of thing. So.
Yeah, almost crossing the alchemist into magic, right? Or pheromones, or yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting.
Yeah, so we got another three-quarters of a season here, so I guess we'll see what other weird things are in store. And then, meanwhile, not trapped in a giant hole, we have Chiana and Sikozu, and Chiana's great plan, which actually was a great plan, to fool Dargo's ship into letting them control it by thinking that they're him. And I guess the only way to do that is to stick her hands in gigantic, like 4 foot pile of Dargo's barf, which, oh god, I don't even know.
Which leads to some anatomical questions of how much can Dargo actually throw up at a time. But anyway,
Yeah, and why just eating like a little tiny bead of whatever makes you do that? Like, whoa, dude. But hey, the plan works. They managed to fly the ship, land it after the second try, fire the cannon, and blow a giant hole in the cave complex. So, good job, and another gross but great Farscape plan.
yeah, my main comment on that is it's an interesting contrast, right? Because you get this contrasted against Noranti's stuff, and Chiana's plan was efficient and actually worked. So um, I found those an interesting juxtaposition between the two plans that one worked and one was kind of confusing.
Yeah, and neither Sikozu or Chiana fell asleep.
Well, that we saw.
Well, take a little nap, then you gotta stick your hands in some. Yeah, no. Yeah. But then, of course, the other part of Farscape plans going awry here. John's got the great rescue plan. He gets in there. He's got Rigel, but then he gets jumped by one of the last henchmen there. And, manages to fight him off. But then the henchman and Rigel fall into the lava pool. But fortunately, this time Rigel is completely encased in the amber stuff. So figuring he's got at least a little while before the lava probably eats through that. And of course, it led to that wonderful fight in the lava with John and Rakeel, the leader, John shooting himself. They're fighting back and forth for a little while. The shield belt beeps. He shoots himself again real quick, and they keep going back to fighting until Rakeel knocks the gun away just as the shield belt's beeping again. And then when Shanna comes in, John's like, shoot me. She's like, say what? He's like, no, really, shoot me. And she just does it. So is that a good thing? I don't know. You can just ask someone to shoot you and she will without question. Well, without one question. It's like, no, really, seriously, shoot me. Okay.
Yeah, there's trust there, right? I did also enjoy the lava scene. I thought it was one of the better parts of the episode. The effects were good. We had a little bit of trivia on the lava, and I think it really paid off, right? I think it looked very very Farscapey and very very good. We did get some foreshadowing, since we see Raquel swimming in the lava earlier, but it did make for a fun fight scene with Chiana having to keep shooting John. It did make me question how indestructible Winona is, because does the shield cover the gun, or does the gun just resistant to lava, or I don't know. There's they make good hardware, those peacekeepers.
Yeah, good point. I guess like yeah, like most shields, you can shoot out of them to somebody else or back to yourself somehow and it doesn't affect the shield. So it's like a one way, maybe two way, but sometimes one way shield.
Right. I mean, the fact that he's holding the gun when he shoots himself means that the gun is external to the shield, but it doesn't burn up in lava. So I don't know.
Yeah, or those guns are just really durable. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. Those peacekeepers make some serious tech. So
yeah. Can survive, be out in the cold, be out in space, get lava, no problem. We got you covered. Now, can the wielder of that survive? Well, no, but hey,
well,
we don't care about them.
in this galaxy we can though. We've established that he can survive at least for a partial time out in space. So
Yeah, and you shoot the gun and use it to propel yourself, so it does everything. And I guess at the end here, where the real Tarkans show up, and
that should have been the title.
yeah, the
The
real
real
Tarkans.
Tarkans. Sorry.
Are they Grand Moff Tarkans or just
There you
regular?
go. I have a little Slim Shady going, with the real
Yeah,
Tarkin. Please stand
yeah,
up. Yeah.
yeah. And John's completely and totally shocked that they actually believe Noranti explanation of what happened. But hey, we'll take it.
They've never met her before, so
Yeah, so okay, they're free to go, but please take this thing, Roger, with you. Like, not a problem. No, And apparently John's like, thank you for the shield belt. So at least he's got one. So like I said before, we'll see if we see that later, because why make a big production out of it if you never see it again? We'll find out. And as soon as they say, yeah, thank you for the shield, they're like, oh yeah, we gotta go. Bye. Let's go. So, probably a good idea,
yeah,
just in case it has the same effect on them. Like, we're gonna be out here before that happens. Goodbye. Thank you.
yeah, because that has the impact to start some form of galactic war, so they better not be around,
Yeah, which I mean, who knows, right? They could be looking for him after
right?
this.
I would be.
And like we said before at the beginning here, as they're leaving, they get a comm from Pilot that says, we're glad to be in contact with you again. Here's where we are. Here's some rendezvous coordinates. So, yay. Hopefully, this means next time we're all back together after 4 episodes of us saying, gotta be this one, gotta be this next one. Nope. So, hopefully, this time we're correct.
Well, I would say it. I'm setting my expectation to be part of the family, and we'll get into it next time here in a minute. But my expectation is this means we're probably at least one episode away from finding Aeryn, because this will be the next one will be the episode of getting pilot Moya back, and then we'll then have to figure out how to find Aeryn. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yep. And speaking of which, on the next episode here, we will do Farscape Season 4, Episode 5, Promises. Playing our usual guessing game of what does that mean? Well, that's could be lots of things. Again, I'm hoping and assuming this one has to have Aeryn in it, unless she was still filming Pitch Black, like we just figured out might be the time she did this, or maybe not. I don't know. But maybe we'll find out next trivia. We'll at least find Moya and Pilot because Pilot gave them the coordinates for him and Moya. So hopefully Aaron's on there too, or is on nearby. I don't know. As for what promise could be, well, like I said, it could be anything. But I think Crichton and Aeryn, or vice versa, did promise to see them again when they left at the end of season 3. Or maybe it's a promise to talk about what's happening with them and with the baby, because that's kind of a big topic. Or it could be something completely different, not at all any of those things, and totally some other promise that maybe one of our other characters made to somebody outside the crew or in the crew, and nothing at all with Aeryn. I don't know. That's all I got.
Oh, maybe I was wrong. We may get Aeryn back, but I'm gonna stay a little pessimistic. That way, I'm not surprised. But either way, I think it seems the last time we overcomplicated our guesses on the title. Some good history, but
Yeah.
so I think I'll keep it simple and agree with you. Either a promise between John and Aeryn to stay apart, right? Because that was kind of their agreement at the end, or more likely, in my opinion, is we're going to get an outside storyline with somebody else outside of our crew. Dealing with promises, or maybe somebody that the crew's made a promise to in the past that's going to come back. We've still got maybe some peacekeepers out there. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm going to assume it's external. Another side note, just to kind of catch us before we wrap up Farscape. Quick Google says that season 4 was a 2002 timeline here.
Hmm.
So I think we're past Pitch Black, unless they, were filming season 4 way before it released. So
Okay, so maybe we'll find out why she really was away. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. Just thought it was interesting.
Yeah. Well, at least we were right last time when we said it'd be about a lava planet or lava something. So there was lava. So
Yeah, good us for getting that out of that
so
side.
I mean, you have to assume that the title actually means something.
So we'll assume there's a promise
Yeah.
somewhere in the next episode.
Yeah. Or it could be a promise not even with the crew. It could be a promise to some random rando person to some other rando person. Who knows?
This is the riveting, analysis that everybody tunes in for. Is it could read the title.
That's right. And people that can't remember these episodes, I can't, or like, no, you moron. It's but but hey, it's fun to guess. So
I can't remember the episodes we've watched, much less the ones I haven't seen yet. So
no, you got PK Tech Girl. I mean that was three, that was like almost 4 years ago compared, season wise, so
which means it's like way longer in real lifetime.
yeah, right. So some things stick in your head. All right, so that is your Farscape homework for next time. If I can find some Acolyte theme music or something, or some Star Wars interlude music after this, we'll kick into the Acolyte. So stay tuned. All right. So, in addition to the usual Farscape, as we've talked about before, or if you just jump to this point in the bookmarks here, or chapter markers, we will now going to talk about the latest live-action Star Wars on Disney Plus, The Acolyte. And it's 8 episodes, so we did the usual, let's do half. So we did episodes 1 through 4. I think as we record this, episode 5 just came out a couple days ago, so we're kind of right on target here. So
Stay on target.
yeah, stay on target. All right, so we'll do the usual alternating recaps here. So, Second, since you read the big one before Farscape, I'll start us off here. So we open, as you would expect, with episode 1, Lost
Did not
slash...
see that coming.
Yeah. What? Well, it could be like Star Wars. You start episode 4. Like, what? Yeah.
Ooh, that would have been smart.
Of course, back when I originally watched it, did it say episode 4? I can't remember. Anyway, that was 40 some years ago. Anyway, actually more than that. 45? Wait, no, yeah, okay. Anyway, episode 1, Lost slash Found. So, 100 years before the rise of the Galactic Empire, the Galactic Republic and the Jedi Order preside during a time of centuries-long peace. In a bar on the planet Udea, Jedi Master Indara is attacked and killed by a woman wielding daggers. The bartender identifies Osha Anaseya, a former Jedi Padawan learner, as the killer. Osha, who now works as a mechanic doing dangerous repairs on outside of starships, denies committing the crime when she was arrested by Jedi Knight Yord Fandar and his Padawan Taziloa. En route to stand trial on Coruscant, Osha's fellow prisoners escape and leave her to crash land on the planet Karlek. She sees a vision of her twin sister, May, who is presumed dead in a fire that seemingly killed her entire family when they were young. Osha deduces that May is alive and the one who killed Indara. Jedi Master Vernestra Rowe sends Master Saul, Osha's former teacher, to Karlak with his current Padawan, Jekilan and Yord. They find Osha, and Saul accepts her theory about May. Elsewhere, speaking of which, May meets with her mysterious master, who has challenged her to kill a Jedi without using a weapon.
Which brings us into episode 2, Revenge slash Justice. May attempts to kill a Jedi Master Torben in a temple on the planet Olega, but is prevented by his force meditation, so he has a force field. Torben has been floating in silent meditation for over a decade. Vermestra sends Sol, Jeki, Yord, and Osha to investigate the attack. May regroups with her supplier, Khmer, who is helping her hunt for the 4 Jedi that were stationed on her and Osha's home planet, Brendok, at the time of the fire. Indara, Torben, Sol, and the Wookiee Kalneka. Khmer provides May with a poison and warns her that she still needs to kill one of the 4 without a weapon. May offers the poison to Torben as absolution for his past. He stops meditating and willingly takes it, dying just as the others arrive. May escapes, and Osha poses as her to get information from Khmer. He reveals the existence of May's master and her overall plan. That night, Sol confronts May and reveals to her that Osha is alive. Osha attempts to stun May but misses, and May escapes again. She later threatens Khmer over talking to the Jedi, but he convinces her to spare him because he has learned that Kalneka is living on the planet Kofar.
And then we go to episode 3, Destiny. So, quick flashback here. 16 years earlier, Osha and May live with an all-female coven of Force witches on Brendok. Their mother and the coven's leader, Mother Anissa, or Anaseya, claims the twins do not have a father. They were carried by another witch, Mother Coral. Anaseya teaches the children that the Force, which she calls the Thread, is misused by the Jedi. The children undergo a ceremony to be inducted into the coven, which May is very excited about, but Osha not so much. Before Osha can be inducted, the ceremony is interrupted by those four Jedi, who express concern that the witches are training children. They claim the right to test the twins for their suitability to become Jedi. Anastasia asks the children to fail the test. May, of course, does, but Osha chooses to tell the truth and pass it, and tells Anastasia that she wishes to become a Jedi. However, angry that her sister wants to leave, May locks Osha in her room and burns her diary. Unfortunately, that fire spreads, so Saul helps Osha to get to safety, and they see May seemingly die, and they find the rest of the coven dead as well. The Jedi take Osha to Coruscant, and Saul promises to train her as his Padawan. Back on Brendok, though, May is shown to have survived and is starting to look for Osha.
Which brings us to episode 4, Day. May and Kamir begin searching for Kalnucka on Kafar, where he has isolated himself in a forest. Sol discusses May with several Jedi Masters who believe that her master must be a fallen Jedi. They send him and Osha to apprehend May with a group of Jedi, including Yord and Jeki. On Kafar, they use the Tinian tracker Basil to begin searching for Kalnucka by following his scent. Osha's connection to the forest begins to grow again, and she connects with a large bug in the forest, which attacks them and is killed by Sol. May begins to feel that her mission to kill a Jedi without a weapon is impossible and no longer relevant to her now that she knows Osha is alive. She captures Kamir in a trap and rushes to turn herself into Kalnucka, planning to reconnect with Osha and tell the Jedi what she knows about her master. However, she finds Kalnucka has been killed by someone using a lightsaber. The others soon arrive and surround May, ordering her to surrender. Before she can do anything, her master appears behind them. The figure activates a red lightsaber and uses the Force to attack Osha and the Jedi.
All right, so we are halfway through season one, and probably the only season, but we'll find out. So, what do you think so far? Is it moving along at a good pace? Uh, what do you think in general, high level, which we might get into later, of the storyline so far and of the characters so far?
Yeah, so high level, I gotta admit, the first couple episodes had me really frustrated with the pacing. I felt like stuff was dragging out to create mystery. You know, they were building things up, which I appreciate. I like a good mystery, but it felt like they were intentionally like almost wasting time. Right? They were building things up to the point when, and you'd end up with the episode and you're like, I didn't get anything out of that. I worry that that's because there's not enough to reach the end of the storyline. Right? I mean, are we looking at the fact that there just may not be enough story to reach the end, so we had to drag it? But then it did pick up. So, I'm a little hopeful that the second half keeps the new faster pacing that we kind of picked up on the last, I'd say, episode and a half. And we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, because you always wonder, like, do they know the episode count? I guess they must know the episode count before they start writing. So, like Disney's like, okay, you got 8 episodes. Okay, great. So I got like 6.5 episodes of worth of story. So let me like stretch out the other
Yeah, that's kind of what it felt like. Maybe there was 6 episodes and they got told, no, we actually wanted to do 8. And they had to like really take the first little bit and just
like
pace it out.
stretch
Yeah.
it out. Yeah, yeah. And I say coming into this, I had no idea what this was about. I mean, I stayed pretty much spoiler free through the whole thing. I knew that it was 100 years before the Star Wars movies, so I knew that was like in the what they call like the high, what was it?
High
I,
Republic.
High Republic kind of thing.
Yeah, I'll come back to the timeline, my thoughts on that when you get done. But go ahead. Sorry, I just want to
Yeah,
throw that in
so
there.
I knew it was knew about that. I read the first book of that new series, so I kind of at least was okay, kind of cool. We'll get back into like the maybe the golden age or the apex of the golden age, and now the decline that we saw later in the actual movies. But kind of based on the name, like Acolyte, I figured it wasn't gonna be anything about Jedi. It's gonna be maybe about the rise of the Sith, or at least this new universe Sith that we saw in the prequel movies. And it opens, it opened pretty well. We have the first bar scene there. We have Carrie Ann Moss. I'm like, oh, that's cool. She's in here. I forgot that she was in this thing. Oh, that's kind of cool. And she's doing like Matrix meets Star Wars fighting. She doesn't use her lightsaber. She's just like dodging like Neo and her and the Matrix. I'm like, oh, this is sweet. This is cool. And then she gets killed. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's a way to start. Was this just like some stunt casting for like one scene here and then that's it? But we did get a scene with her later, so hopefully maybe throughout the rest of the 4 episodes there'll be some more flashbacks with what's going on with her and the other four Jedi. We'll see though, but at least it started out really good.
I'll agree with that 100%. I was kind of similar, right? generally I try to dodge spoilers when I can, especially for Star Wars or any movies I'm really going to be into or series. So I was in the same way. I was like, that's really what I knew coming into this was that she was going to be in it, and to have her die right off, I was kind of like, oh. I looked at my oldest son. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, you didn't know that? I was like, no. But I will say, I do think we're going to get some more of her. But I think it's going to be even briefer flashbacks than what we got. Right? We think we've already had the major. Um, I hope from a storyline perspective, just for pacing, I hope we've had the only major big flashback uh, that was almost an entire episode. But I think we're going to get some shorter ones where we kind of fill in the gaps of what happened. You know, we've got that room full of dead Jedi or dead Jedi. Well, room full of dead witches, rather, and so there's a lot of gaps still to fill in about what happened during and after the fire. So I think we'll still end up with some more flashbacks, but I think overall, they've probably used up most of her time on set.
At least they didn't do that. They had to do a lot of de-aging, I guess, this time, unlike other shows. So, okay, we'll see. Yeah. And then after the big exciting opening there, we cut to Osha doing her little mechanic, mechanic, work on a starship. They did kind of want you to keep thinking it was her as the killer because they kind of look the same, like with their eyes. Because at this point we didn't know that they were twins or whatever. But so it's like, yeah, it looks like her, and she's like dismissing one of her coworkers, like, hey, where were you last night or whatever. She's like, yeah, whatever. So you're kind of like, going, okay, maybe it's her, maybe she's just playing things. Okay, it's kind of cool, a little mystery here. But I was kind of hoping they go more with like a kind of like either like a split personality or like schizophrenia kind of thing as the answer to that. She was the killer, but she also has like the cyber personality that's not. I think that would have been maybe more interesting, given that a lot of the Jedi powers are like mental in nature. But now we just have our usual good twin, bad twin plot so far, anyway.
See, now you've got me wanting that plot, right? Because um, I don't know if you remember if you ever got into them, but way back in I'm not going to pick a year, back in TSR days of D&D, there were some Dark Sun books that dealt with a psionic character because that was the big thing about Dark Sun, right? But anyway, point is that there was a psionic character who had a split personality, and each of the aspects of his personality, each of the personas living within his mind, had a different psionic ability. So each time he wanted to do something different, he kind of had to shift and let that other personality come up and be the active one. And I think doing that with a Jedi or Sith, or possibly a Jedi and Sith in the same person, would be very interesting and almost kind of give you an interesting thing to dive into on Force dynamics and how the Force actually works, right, within one person.
Yeah, because in the old, whatever we're calling it, legends or legacies or whatever the Star Wars stuff that's not canon anymore, that we all read for 30 years before. They had like those kind of like corrupted clones, like Joris, Saboth, and those guys.
The Oak, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of like, okay, I think is that something like that? Is some weird thing, or could be interesting, but okay, we got good and bad twins. Okay, fine.
I did also want to mention you mentioned the mechanic or whatever mechanic droid replacement, which she was working as, which seems to be like an illegal trade, right? Because evidently the Republic has mandated that you have to use droids for extravehicular maintenance. You're not allowed to have humans who do it, or sentient beings who do it, and that seems to be her job. So it's almost like a black market mechanic skill set, which I don't think we've had mentioned. I haven't read the High Republic stuff, but I thought that's the first time I'd seen it, so I thought it was a very interesting addition to kind of offset a lot of the droid stuff that we've seen in other Star Wars works.
Yeah, and of course the people that were sanctioning that were those Trade Federation guys, which of course, yeah, they're sneaky people anyway. So, I'd say, yeah, stands to reason, and checks out.
Yeah, they're not typecast at all.
Yeah, as sleazy business people that cut corners and do things for profit only. Yeah, no, not at all. Yeah, they're fine. And I guess kind of jumping around here, I did love that May couldn't attack Master Torben. He's sitting there floating in his little monastery there, meditating, and everything she does, she's like tries to hit him and like bonk, like runs up against, like you said, the literal force field. She tries to kick him, bonk. Nice comedy in this kind of serious episode or a serious kind of season here.
Yeah, and I was hoping we get a lot more out of him. That's another one of the characters. You asked earlier about what I thought about some of the side characters, and they've got a very interesting bunch of Jedi that have made up this group that she's attacking and hunting. Right? I mean, you've got Torben, you've got, I'm never going to get the name right for Carrie Ann Moss's character, but even though she gets taken out first, she's obviously was the leader of the group. You've got Torben, who was her Padawan or a Padawan on that trip. You've got Soul and the Wookiee, which we actually don't have a whole lot of Wookiee Jedi, and
Hmm.
so to have one in that group, I know this is a different timeline, but still, I don't think it was all that um, many of them. So a very interesting group of Jedi they put together that we're having to figure out what really happened in the lost span of time, right? So because he evidently had some serious hangups to force him to go into the meditation and then to willingly take the poison.
Yeah, so we'll get into it here next couple tidbit talking points here. But yeah, there's something going on that we don't know about yet, which is why they keep flashing back to things. So yeah, I mean, obviously something happened, whatever, and we'll talk about later, that made him want to go off and like wall himself away from people and just meditate, for like what 10 years or how long they said it was. But then is it like tense? Is it like all the time? Because how do you eat? Like, is the force keeping you alive? I don't think you can do that. So is he like, oh, here's your food. Okay, great, thanks. Then back to floating and meditating. I don't know. But
I don't
anyway,
know. Maybe the force can sustain.
yeah. Well, also we'll get into that here in a second too. So, but before we get to that point, let's kind of explore some of these Jedi here. Like, so yeah, so far the Jedi that we've seen, both at the on Coruscant and here out in the different planets here, kind of have their share of issues or traits that make you not really like them all that much, or at least most of them anyway. I'm not sure if that's where they were going, like with the idea that these are the Jedi kind of like on the downswing from the height of their power and influence, and it's kind of like here's like the I don't know, like the arrogance or the self-importance of the Jedi. Like they all seem to kind of like fool themselves, right? Like and their beliefs, especially Yord. Yord's just annoying me. He's just like I just want to smack him around the head. So he's just like we're a Jedi. We're right all the time. We're perfect. We're wonderful. And then, we got that one Jedi Master on Coruscant of Vernestra, however you pronounce her name. She doesn't want to tell the High Council or the Senate of what's going on for, I guess, like, fear of what might happen. That doesn't sound really Jedi-like. It sounds kind of like scheming and kind of like your typical politician, not like a Jedi. So,
Yep.
yeah, there's something going on. So I don't know if that's what they're trying to go for. If like this is kind of like the decline and beginning of the fall of the Jedi, which then of course we see during the prequels. But yeah, it's like these four Jedi at least are hiding something, and probably something with that Force Witch cult. So I'm sure there's more than we've seen so far, and we got 4 more episodes to dwell into that hopefully.
You mentioned something there that I did want to hit back on, which was the character of Vernestra, and that I think what she actually says at one point was that she didn't want to alert the council because they'd be forced to interact with the Senate, the Galactic Republic, whatever, and they would get involved. And it's almost like yeah, she's doing a political answer to keep it secret to protect the Jedi, but also because she knows what their response will be if forced to get political. So she's almost like trying to keep them from getting tied up into the Republic, which makes you wonder how bad's the Republic at this state. Which I think is the main thing they're going for in this storyline. I mean they've got a lot of like mysteries and we've got a good action story, but it's almost like the the Jedi's rise. We've always kind of been raised to be shown in Star Wars that the Jedi are the knights, right? They're the the heroes and the good guys and the Sith are the bad guys and all that kind of stuff. And I think they're taking a little more. They're trying for a more nuanced approach to show that the Jedi's rise was partially due to like their elimination of any competing force-based philosophies. To use a mouthful there, right? I mean, we've seen interactions with Dathomir witches. Now we've got a new coven of Force witches. So they're almost kind of trying to say that the Jedi power partially comes from the fact that they've eliminated the competition, right? They cornered the market on the Force, which I do like. I like that bit of history, and I like kind of seeing that. My biggest complaint, and it's been one of my complaints I think about Star Wars stuff for the last little bit, is I don't feel like they're backing up far enough. It's my main complaint with the prequels, aside from like bad dialogue, is that I don't feel like they backed up far enough. I don't feel like they did it right, and everything has to happen in a compressed time frame in Star Wars because we're scared to get outside of a couple years from the main original trilogy. backing up 100 years is good, but I would like to back up 1,000 or something, right? Let's get back to like the early days of how did the Jedi come to be, and kind of set it up that way instead of coming in the High Republic. But they don't pay me for that, so I guess this is what we get. But that's probably my only major complaint about this story is I would have liked to have gone back further.
Yeah, yeah, because playing the games, over the last, like I said, 40 years, like the KOTOR, the Knights of the Republic, where they're going back thousands and thousands of years when like the Jedi were at their height of their power, and then you had, in this case, lots of Sith. You're fighting all around. You know, New World, there were only two Sith at the time, or just this point, whatever. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, it would have been nice to go back maybe even further. But then again, we have Ahsoka, which is kind of delving into the possible beginnings of the Force in one or more galaxies. So they might get more into that. But yeah, they could have gone back to like a more, I don't know, like height of the Republic kind of thing instead of more towards like what we've seen in the movie side. But oh
Yeah,
well, that's what.
yeah. I mean, the other problem I have with it is that they've established that some of the alien races are long lived, right? And so Yoda's what, 800, 900.
Hmm.
So theoretically, if we're only back up 100 years, you've got a 700-year-old Yoda who's still going to be a major character. So, you know, you I guess that's my point. So I'd like to get completely outside of the standard characters timelines.
Yeah. All right, so let's briefly probably jump into the topic that apparently had half the internet up in arms. Our episode 3 flashback to Osha and May's early life and the, I guess, quote unquote, revelation that Mother Anastasia says they have no father, and just that was it. Just one off line. She says that they have no father. She created them. That's it. That's all we got. She doesn't say how she created them. Was it like artificial insemination? Was it DNA manipulation? Was it some kind of early cloning technology? Because that's again this new Star Wars. They love cloning, right? So is this the beginning of the cloning stuff? The only thing I hope, and again, I only seen through episode 4, even though 5 just came out. Only seen the first 4. I really hope it's not another Anakin and Shmi Skywalker thing with the word I swore I'd never say again, midichlorians.
M count. You mean
Yeah,
to say M
M
count?
count,
Yeah.
the M things. Yeah, but I mean, who am I kidding? I mean, it's probably magical force babies. I guess them trying to show that hey, look, it happened before with Anakin. But and this is where it was maybe where it started back here. But I mean, hopefully, as far as we know, just through episode 4, it's just a throwaway line. But I'm sure they'll explain it, and I'm sure it's probably gonna be the Force decided to have more babies. But okay.
So I'm kind of hoping they take a little different tack with this, because I mentioned earlier that I avoided spoilers. I will admit that I could not avoid the internet firestorm about something in that episode. Right? I mean, I tried to not read what it was, but obviously that we know what it is now. But my hope is that they go with some dark side powers, right? Because I think, and I'm reaching here, but I think there's mention, if I invoke the prequels, of Darth Plagueis having his power over life, right? That somehow the dark side was able to influence life, and I'm kind of hoping that they, just like we had the ability for the dark side to have cloning, and somehow Palpatine returned, that we're going to be able to have some way that maybe she made a deal, the witches made a deal with the Sith or something to help create the twins, right? So I'm thinking that would be an interesting way to go, and not make it just an eye roll of M count or something.
Hopefully, and again, we have 4 more episodes with a big cliffhanger of episode 4 here. So yeah, hopefully, we'll find out all the answers to these mysteries. Because if all they got this one season, then they got to hopefully wrap it up and tell us everything. So.
Yeah, which we know from other episodes, they don't always do that, but it would
Hmm.
be nice.
Yeah, but yeah, stay tuned. Is it Force Babies? Is it something else? We'll see.
That's the sequel to Muppet Babies.
Yeah, Force Babies. Force Babies in space. No, anyway.
Basically.
Okay, so then, after the big flash, or part of the big flashback, which, like we said, May and Osha want to go 2 different directions. May doesn't like that Osha just wants to go be a Jedi and, betray Mom and the cult here. So she sets fire to Osha's, locks Osha in a room, has her little journal outside, or diary, and she sets fire to it, and then she drops it, and then suddenly. the whole thing's on fire, like everything, like the door, like the entire mountain hideout suddenly on fire. I'm like, it looked to me like it was mostly stone, but maybe they brought a whole bunch of wood in. I don't know. That didn't make any sense. Like suddenly the whole thing's like a giant inferno, and like this is all a bunch of stone. I don't get it. And that mystery room that we saw when the Jedi visited that looked like there's some like power generators or something. Like they're on fire and blowing up and something. So all this leads me to believe that this wasn't just due to that fire that all this happened. That there's something else happened with those four Jedi and the witches that we haven't seen yet, or something that yeah, this all just doesn't fit right.
Agreed. I thought the same thing about the fire, and yeah, in all honesty, that's the other half of that big internet blow up that I saw was how how does a stone fortress burn down with a little fire? So I totally agree with you that I think that's the piece they're holding out, right? That's going to be the last episode revelation or whatever, that something happened between the Jedi and the witches, and that's why we have all the dead witches as they're leaving the as Saul's taking her out, and they leave May behind. That somehow a lot of the witches were killed, and I think that's going to be the big secret revelation of the Jedi or something, that something happened, and that may result in the mystery of the fire being solved. But there's a whole lot of missing time there that we didn't get to see from Saul's perspective. So
Yeah, and either it scarred Torben for life that he had to go withdraw from everybody and just be focus on the Force for like like repentance or meditation or something. Cause yeah, so something had to have happened there. All right, and then kind of on a kind of fun meta note here, we do have some characters that we've seen before in other movies or novels. The one we've actually seen live before apparently is a Jedi Master Ki Edi Mundi. He was there on Coruscant with Venestra, although I guess he's not on the High Council at this point. He's just it's 100 years before that, so he's just either a master just hanging around on Coruscant, doing master things. They didn't say his name though in the show, so I didn't catch that until I was going through the credits at the end. So I just want to see like who's playing who, or if I recognize any names or anything. And I was like, hey, wait a minute.
I
So
I recognize the character
it,
type.
it looked like him. I'm like, oh, it could be the same race as that guy we saw in the prequels. But I'm like, is it really? And like, oh, it's the
Yeah,
same name. There we
I
go.
I was going off the same thing. I was like, maybe it's just a similar race, because sometimes they do that. They'll throw another person of the same species right into the situation. Because again, that's my complaint about the timelines. That obviously we've got some of these long lived alien races still hanging out. So yeah, there's a character that was there.
Yeah, and actually, I think in one of the like scenes where I think they're walking around Coruscant or something, like the same like mother and baby from Bad Batch, like the last when Cad Bane kidnapped that little Force baby there, that one. I think they had some of them walking around too. I was like, hey, so that's kind of cool. So yeah, so they drop things here and there. But the other big thing apparently, which I didn't catch up on until I saw the articles afterwards, was kind of a little callback, sort of, to our little tracker Basil, because you have to have your cute aliens in Star Wars. Just cute aliens, cute droids. That's how it works. So Basil's apparently a Tynan who apparently was mentioned in the Han Solo's Revenge book from way back in 1979,
Good year.
which I of course read. Well, yeah, I remember reading all those Han Solo books because they were like the only books of Star Wars around at the time. So, but you wouldn't know about this unless you read all the articles afterwards. So get your little Easter egg, kind of, and they're bringing back some not exactly canonical stuff into the world of new official Star Wars. So kind of cool.
Yeah, that's something we've been seeing a little bit of, right? So they'll throw the Easter eggs or the references to stuff from our now Legends books, right? They don't necessarily pull main storylines, right? I mean, they're going to keep the legends out, the legends, and not being really what happened, but they're pulling bits and pieces of it, just to throw Easter eggs. Because I think a lot of the people that are in charge of Star Wars now, at least, more like us, and read a lot of these books, when there was no other Star Wars options. So it's kind of cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, why not start bringing some of those things back? They brought Thrawn back as not like the books, but still it's the same guy, same idea. So it's you can bring back some of the stuff that worked.
So you're saying we're going to get some views on Vong?
Oh God, no, please. Yeah, that's the next trilogy of movies coming out. Yeah, it's all about Ray and yeah, he's on phone. If you want to lose all your audience, yeah,
I
do
was going to
that.
say,
because
There would be some serious internet firestorm if that happened.
oh yeah, the internet would melt down if they pulled that off. Yeah,
Well, we do still have Chewbacca, right? He's still out there. So
yeah. Unless you want to kill him off like the books there, but
right,
that's yeah.
yeah.
So,
Vector Prime, baby. I own the hardback. You know why, right? Because it was written by R.A. Salvatore, who I was a huge fan of at the time. There's a tangent.
yeah.
I read all the R.A. Salvatore books, and I found out he was writing a Star Wars book, and I'm like, hey, they've like merged my two favorite things.
Or Ray was pregnant with Kylo Ren's, and and she has twins, and then one becomes a good twin of Force, and one becomes a bad twin. No,
Now, how can we work the father, son, and daughter into that so we can have the Force trilogy, the Force triumvirate?
yeah, except well, it's related back to Anakin because it's all the Skywalker clan. That's all Star Wars is Skywalkers. It's all related to Skywalkers. It's not anything.
Rise, man, they rise.
Yeah. All right. So since we're having fun here, let's have some more fun here. So, who's your guess as the identity of this mystery fallen Jedi, or not even that we haven't known that that's the case. Like, who do we think May's master is? Is it somebody we've already seen before, or somebody totally new that we haven't seen before? Following the usual TV trope of the law of conservation of characters, if it's someone we've seen before, I think the most obvious would be her accomplice, Kamir. He's been everywhere that May's been, so he can keep an eye on her and guide her and help her with, stuff. He knows where all these Jedi are that she wants revenge on, especially Kelnaka, who's no one seems to know where he went on Kofar. He went off into the forest somewhere, and this is gigantic, as typical Star Wars, trees that are like, 500 feet tall, you know. So he's out there somewhere, but he knows exactly where he is. So that's my prime thing, which of course is too obvious. But then we got the two mothers of the Force cult, Anastasia, the actual creator, quote unquote, of our two little antagonists here, or Coral, the one that I guess carried them the term.
Well, we know Anastasia is dead, right? She was one of the dead. Well, theoretically, she was one of the dead witches we saw on the way out.
Yeah, but then supposedly May fell into the pit too and was killed. But
Agreed. I'm just saying.
so
Yeah,
yeah,
from a certain point of view, she looked pretty dead.
exactly right. Let's throw all the Star Wars cliches. Yeah. And then of course, if you want to go totally crazy conspiracy theory, a wild idea I thought of is that they're not twins but triplets. Ooh.
Ooh.
Or maybe like an older version of whatever or however Osha May were created that quote unquote didn't work out. You know. Or if we want to get completely and totally off the wall, and this is just hilariously stupid and silly as I thought at the last minute, maybe it's Basil.
Okay, you
Okay,
got me with that one.
okay. Hear me out. So, obviously Basil's small, right? And this guy with the red lightsaber is taller. So maybe there's like a couple of Basils
In a
on top of each
trench coat.
on top of each other's shoulders with like a trench coat, like a cape and a mask, right? So, after all, they look rat-like, right? And if this master is Darth Plagueis, Palpatine's master, rats, bubonic plague, Plagueis, there you go, right there. It all fits.
Wow. So it's been a rat all along.
That's right. I smell a rat.
I smell a rat. So okay, I'm gonna take a step back and go full transparency here. I watched episode 5, so I'm gonna stay out of the guessing game on this one. However, I'm gonna tangent though and comment that speaking of the master, one of their favorite things that I found interesting is the mask.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, they're calling like Darth Teeth. They're calling him online or something. I
right,
saw, yeah.
so you've got this bizarre metallic mask, and I was thinking about that because, and again, I'm avoiding anything here that has to do with what we've seen, but or what I've seen. But the Star Wars is known for the Sith masks, right? I mean,
Hmm.
Vader's is iconic to the point that Kylo Ren. Now, granted, it's more to do with his family than Sith specific, but it became iconic of the Sith of having Vader's helmet and then Kylo Ren making his own, and so he's got his mask.
Well, and yet you have some of the Inquisitors that had some masks and stuff. Right?
Yep, you had some Inquisitors, and you had some. What am I trying to think of? The Knights of Ren, which I know they're not specifically called out to be Jedi. I'm still confused as to where the
Hmm.
current timeline thinks they are. But
Yeah.
the fact that you've got this 100 years ago Sith with this really bizarre, over the top mask just was very interesting to me. I think that was probably my favorite thing so far in these 4 episodes of that character. Is just what we've seen of the character, pretty limited. but that mask, especially at uh, the end of episode 4 when he attacks, was just awesome.
Yeah, and even some of the Sith in like the Knights of the Old Republic games, that kind of thing, they had masks. Not all of them, but some of them had masks and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of like it's like a Sith thing. So,
Yeah.
and if this is like the rise of not rise of the Sith, but or maybe it's the rise of the Sith in this new Star Wars universe, yeah, I mean, who knows? So again, I will find out when I watch Episode 5. Probably they probably explain it all. No, haha, what will say? I don't know.
I,
But
I'll
I
spoil that one.
I
They don't explain
I
all of
like my
anything.
theories. Yeah, of course not gonna, so they have to keep stringing it along because you got well, five, four more episodes here to,
Yeah, yeah.
or three episodes and the final where they, defeat quote unquote this master and whatever, and then but or did they, and then of course we'll cut to, I don't know, young Palpatine growing up. Who know? I don't know.
So wait, so was Palpatine a Force clone?
I don't think so. He was just like your person from Naboo, or like your politician from Naboo that went on to somehow get recruited by Darth Plagueis. I don't know I haven't read the books, so I have no idea if they fill
Me,
any of these gaps in. I don't know,
me
but
either. I'm just gonna closet and give everybody a background story of they were created by the dark side, and all these characters were Force created.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, if we have the good light side Force babies, and then do we have to have the good the evil Force babies? So we have one each here apparently, but supposedly, you know, possibly, with
Well,
Lucia
but
and May. So
yeah, that's true. The I completely lost it there, but yeah, it'll be interesting. I fully expect this. I'm hoping that's what I was gonna say. I hope this has a longer final episode. I'm not gonna get my hopes up, but I'm hoping they pull a Bad Batch and give us a really long final episode because I'm really expecting a lot of these mystery stuff to be revealed in that final episode. I think they're gonna stretch it as far as possible. So before we get answers.
yeah, because now I can see like anybody being this Force, this Sith like guy. It could be that, could be Vanestra. Some people were saying it was Saul. I'm like, but I thought he was there with the people. I'm like, huh? Unless I missed something where he like snuck off at the end there. I can't remember, but yeah. So it's like, it could be anybody because it's wide open. I'm assuming it should be somebody you've seen before up to this point, because otherwise it's like suddenly 5 episodes in, it's like, oh yeah, it's this new person we've never seen before. Which I mean could be, but where's the payoff on that, right? So I don't know. It's fun to guess because it doesn't mean anything if I'm right or wrong. It's just fun to think about it. So,
Yeah, and that's the point of having a show like this. It's all mysteries that you get to guess at these things. So
yeah, it keeps you entertained and engaged in the show, and it's like, ooh, see if you can be smarter than the writers of trying to hide things, and see if you can pick up on the details or whatever. So who knows? It's fun. All right. Anything else to comment about the first 4 episodes here,
uh,
and not ruin the fifth one for
no,
me?
yeah. The only other thing I'll call out is, and I'm trying again. We'll have to see as they come out with the rest of the episodes because I do my best to not look ahead or behind or anything like that. Well, I look behind, but don't try not to spoil myself. But the point of all that was to say that one of the things I was most interested in or found uh, kind of cool was that the first 2 episodes had polar 2-part titles.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah.
you had Lost Found and Revenge Justice. Diametrically opposed, two of each. And I was really hoping that they were going to continue that because I thought the idea of having a show of focusing on twins with different approaches and aspects was to continue that. But for some reason in episode 3, they decided to stop and do Destiny and then Day, right? So obviously they chose singular focuses. I don't know if that's because the duality was split, and they're now pursuing similar missions. May is no longer quite on the dark side path or whatever that she was when she started, or if so, is that intentional or is it whatever? But I really did like the fact that they for the show about twins they had dual titles that they then killed. So
Yeah, I noticed that too. I was kind of, oh, that's kind of cool. Then they stopped. And I'm like, okay, well now because what? Now the secret's out. Okay, fine. So now no more. Is it her? She just doesn't think she is, and but yeah, they pretty much got the whole twin thing right out in the open. So it's like, okay, fine. But
but I still would have if I were them I would have continued with the 2-part.
yeah, because it keeps you guessing. Is it really a twin until we actually see them both together? Okay, fine. Now they're twins. Okay, fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you could have done like Destiny, Fate, you know, day night's a little cliche. You know
Hmm.
maybe, but you could have done something different than day. I still don't understand what day means. So
Day of the reveal of evil Sith, quasi Sith person. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, so overall, so far, to keep my interest, it's interesting. It's quasi frustrating to some points, but interesting enough to keep me watching. So
yeah, I'll second that. I mean, especially I avoided spoilers, but again, we definitely knew the internet backlash that this was getting, and the poor ratings and reviews, rather, not ratings, and
hmm
all that. So I came into it concerned that I was going to be disappointed with Star Wars. So coming in with that approach, it has been better than I expected. Um, Pacing issues aside, I think I'm hoping that those are resolved as we go further into the second half of the series. Um, so yeah, definitely better than I was expecting. I had low expectations based on the reviews, but yeah, I think it's an adequate good Star Wars story. It's not earth shattering. It's not Kenobi for me or anything like that, but it's definitely good Star Wars. So I won't complain too loudly.
yep, I agree completely. All right, so yeah, next time we will wrap up with episodes 5 through 8 of The Acolyte, and we'll see if there's going to be a season two. I don't know, probably not. I mean, looks like all the other seasons of things are being canned. Like, there's probably not be another Kenobi. There's not going to be another, well, Book of Boba Fett. That was a one off there. Anyway.
Did I miss that? Have they actually said there's not going to be another Kenobi? I mean, I assume based on the fact how long it's been that there probably
Yeah,
wouldn't be
I think
one.
it's pretty
But
much that's done. But who knows? We'll see.
huh.
But yeah, so that's your homework for next time. The rest of the Acolyte. And we'll see you then. Goodbye.
Goodbye.